Illegal dumping and littering is a concern across the Gladstone region, with over 134 offences in the last 18 months. Our region is beautiful, but there are a few bad apples that ruin it for the rest of us, and they need to clean up their act.
Commonly found items at illegal dumping sites across the region include car bodies and batteries, mattresses, tyres, white goods and furniture, and green waste. These items can be disposed of at any of the region's waste transfer stations, some of them even for free.
Illegal dumping and littering pollutes our environment, harms plants and animals, and detracts from the enjoyment of our public spaces. It can lead to stormwater and ocean pollution, with large amounts of plastic, sugar sachets, and cigarette butts caught in stormwater traps and grates.
It's cheaper for everyone to dispose of waste correctly. Illegal dumping and littering costs our ratepayers thousands of dollars each year in waste management and clean-up. It's also costly for our dumper, with penalties of up to $10,000.
We can all work together to keep our region beautiful and dispose of waste responsibly by placing rubbish in the bins, or even holding onto the rubbish until you're near a suitable bin, and using our local waste facilities. Don't be part of the problem of pollution. We want you to be a part of the solution.
From towns to the bush, illegal dumping and littering is everybody's responsibility. Protect our public spaces and natural environment by doing the right thing for today and tomorrow.
If you see illegal dumping,
Dob in a dumper.
See it,
report it,
stop it.
Well, good morning. The time being 9 a.m, I declare open the general meeting for the Gladstone Regional Council for the 17th of January 2023. We do have an apology from Councillor Muscat. Councillors, can I have a resolution or a move that the apology be accepted, please? Thank you, Councillor Goodluck. Second to Councillor Trevor. Put the motion all in favour. Thank you, Councillor Churchill as well online. The motion's carried. The next item on the agenda is the messages of condolence, and Councillor Branthwaite, you have a message of condolence. Thank you.
Yes, I do, Mr Mayor. Thank you very much. It's with sadness that we recognise that Adrian Taylor passed away on the 4th of January, peacefully aged 79 years. He's much-loved husband of Daphne and father-in-law to Tracy, Brad, Damien and Donna, and the granddad, brother and brother-in-law and uncle to friend of many. Adrian was heavily involved with the AMP insurance scene here in Gladstone, and obviously Rotary for many years. He also had a passion for boxing, and golf being one of those, and golf being one of the other passions as well, being one for a refreshing ale in the 19th. He was also very much loved business partner of mine at the Golden Fleece of Benaraby back in 1982, which morphed into Caldex Boyne River. He will be sadly missed by many, and her thoughts and condolences go out to Daphne and the family. The other person who's passed away is Wally Clark. Now, Wally Clark also passed away on the 4th of January, aged 89 years. He was a neighbour of ours at Caltex Boyne River for many years in the caravan park at Willow Grove. But he was a stalwart of the Boyne Townham Golf Club and involved for many years arranging Veterans Day each week and hitting me up for sponsorship on a regular basis. He and Daphne lived next door to the service station at Benarabin Willow Grove Caravan Park, as I said. I would see Wally on a daily basis for his paper and a bit of chatter and maybe score some sponsorship off me once again. So he was such a nice chap with a splash of humour and cheek, and condolences go to Karen, his daughter, and the rest of the family. He'll be missed as well. But these two people were heavily involved within our community, and it's sad to see those people go. And condolences to both families.
Thank you, Councillor Branthwaite. Any further messages of condolence? No further messages of condolence. Do we have any prior notifications of conflicts of interest? No. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the Mayor's statement, and obviously with the Christmas period just wrapping, it's not a very long statement today, but of course our New Year's Eve event was huge. Very big success at the GPC Marina Parklands, and probably the biggest I think we've seen there for a very long time. It was absolutely huge, and if we thought for a second we might have been able to cancel that event because it wasn't popular, I think we've certainly cemented its future going a long time into the future. So well done to the team for putting that event on. Great entertainment and a great night. Coming up, of course, we have our Australia Day Awards and Citizenship Ceremony on January 25th. The night before Australia Day, which is what we traditionally have done in the Gladstone region, bringing our new citizens together with those people in our community that have given so much of their time and their life to our community. It's fantastic to see, like I said, our new citizens meeting and greeting with our locals that have been around doing so much for our community for so long. And then, of course, the next day at East Shores, for the very first time, we will have our Australia Day Family Fun Day on January 26. So that's happening there. Of course, I'll shout out again to the team for the Festival of Summer. I know we had to postpone our beach party, I think it was called. It's been postponed to this weekend, so hopefully the rain stays away and that'll happen this weekend. But again, well done to the team. The Festival of Summer has been a huge success as well. Thank you, councillors. The next item on the agenda is the confirmation of the minutes. G2.1 is a confirmation of the general meeting minutes for the 20th of December 2022. Move Councillor Churchill, second Councillor Hanson. Any business arising? No? Thank you. Put the motion all in favour. They're confirmed. With the officers' reports, councillors, we have Lee Griffith online, and Lee has moved to Brisbane with his partner and is now the Manager of Engagement for the Department of Communities, Housing and Digital Economy. So I'd like to move that item forward because Lee's with us till 10 a.m. and I'm not sure how long the rest of the agenda will go. And considering Lee's actually no longer working for council, I think it's very good of him to be online. So we'll move that agenda item to the first agenda item, please, and we'll move to that now. With your permission, do I need a mover to amend the agenda? I'll move that. And seconded Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? Thank you. It's carried. We'll move that item now forward. So we'll move to G3.6, and I'll hand over to the General Manager of Community Development Events, Kylie Lee. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors, and welcome to Lee, who is online with us. As the Mayor said, Lee has taken on a really great opportunity in Brisbane with the Department of Communities as their Manager of Engagement. However, I think it's a great opportunity to talk about some of the great things that he's done within the Phillip Street precinct. The purpose of our report today is to give you an update on the effectiveness of the Phillip Street Communities and Families Precinct Advisory Committee, and their annual report will be coming to the February meeting of Council. Our advisory committee does consist of several members. So we do have Councillor O'Grady and Councillor Muscat, myself, Christopher Ford from the Salvation Army, Shakira Campbell from the GAPDL Communities for Children, Auntie Cecilia Egmalees, who is our member representing our First Nations community, Kate Dufty, who represents our disability community, Supriya Singh, representing our culturally and linguistically diverse community, and a recently appointed Maxine Bruce, who is representing the seniors community. At the time of this report, we were yet to appoint a youth representative. However, we've had an overwhelming response to our youth council this year with 23 applications for council. We'll bring that report to you in February. We're going through the appointment process as we speak. One of those members will represent they'll represent the youth sector on the Phillip Street Advisory Committee. That will come to council for appointment as well. We have been having regular meetings. The committee moved to having bi-monthly meetings in July 2022, and they have been recommending several improvement opportunities, and I've categorised those in the report. So far, since inception, they've recommended 79 improvements to ensure that the precinct is meeting its targets. They have also undertaken several learning and development opportunities, so governance, also asset-based community development to make sure they're aligned with our community development framework, and also diversity and inclusion training. One of the most important, from my perspective, a really great improvement opportunity that the committee pushed forward was the ease of operating for the room booking process. The room booking process was quite clunky in the way that it operated for the community, and the committee actually recommended an improvement opportunity there. It's working much better at the moment, which is fantastic. I'll just invite Lee, if Lee wanted to say anything about the Phillip Street precinct, and then I'm happy to invite any questions.
Thanks, Kylie. Lee?
Good morning. Nothing really to add, Council, apart from the precinct wouldn't be where it is without the advisory committee and making them the recommendations that they do and putting that community lens over things. They've been really integral to the success and continuous improvement, really. But I think that's all I can really add at this moment in time.
Thank you. Questions, councillors? No, thank you. Before I have a mover, I just want to say to Lee, thank you for what you've done at Phillip Street. I'm glad you were able to dial in this morning, even though you're working for another department. Kind of handy that you're working for the Department of Communities, considering, they fund some of the facilities that go on there, so make sure the money keeps coming. But Phillip Street was a pretty important project, not just to the community, but a very special project for myself. Obviously, to make sure it worked was so important, and I think what you did in terms of the design and the collaborative approach made it work. And it is what it is because of people like yourself. I know you just gave the credit to the advisory committee, and they are doing an amazing job too, but it wouldn't have got to that point if you didn't do the work you did. So thank you very much for what you've done for our Phillip Street. It is one of a kind, and I know that other cities, regions around the state and around the country are looking at what we're doing there and want to sort of duplicate that. So feather in your cap, mate. Well done to you. Thank you very much. Councillors?
Excellent. Thank you.
Can I get a mover for the recommendation, please? Move Councillor O'Grady, seconded Councillor Branthwaite. Put the motion. All in favour? That's cheers. Thank you, Councillor Churchill, as well. Thank you, Kylie. We'll move back to, and thank you, Lee. Move back to G3.1, which is our officers' reports. And our first officers' report is G3.1, the financial report for the period ending the 31st of December 2022. And I'll hand over to the General Manager of Finance, Governance and Risk, Mark Holmes. Thank you, Mark.
Morning, Mayor. Morning, councillors. This is your monthly financial statements through to the end of December, so your 31st of December reporting period. So essentially we're halfway through the financial year. You'll see, looking at essentially that headline level, our current revenue is a little bit behind where we would be at from a full pro rata perspective, so we're just under 42%. The reason being that we've got a number of grants and lump sum payments to come in the second half of the financial year, and we're expecting those receipts. And we'll take those up in that forecast. And the other part of our rate revenue income, whilst we're recognising our general rates and our water and sewage rates access charges on a monthly basis, we do have that water consumption rates that are levied on a 6-monthly basis. And we'll have the first levy of those up here in February. So your statements will pick up those at that point in time. With respect to our expenditure, we essentially are just really bang on budget, just in around 50%, but we are continuing to see a number of price pressures, particularly on some of our materials and services, and that is putting underlying drivers into our contractors and the rates that we are continuing to see when we do go out to market for ad hoc supplies. So we are looking at how we best cater for those in the forecast, and that's why we haven't taken up the forecast in this budget, because we're seeing some pressures in that, and we're just asking managers and the team to look at how we can best absorb that within the current budget. From a capital works perspective, probably not exactly where we would like to be at this point. So we're sitting in and around that 18 million mark for our works year to date. The team are forecasting at the moment 58 million. But we just need to probably, I think that's very optimistic based on where we're at. So the team will continue to update that figure. With respect to our outstanding rates, continue to track a little bit ahead of where we were this time last year, so that continual improvement year on year, which is great to see. So we're in and around 7.25% compared to 7.88% the previous year. But happy to answer any questions you may have with respect to the report.
Thanks, Mark. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, Mark, just on our water, I was looking at, we get income twice a year from our water.
Yep.
How do we pay for it? Is that a quarterly?
Monthly bill. So
it's a monthly bill?
It's a monthly bill from the water board.
Okay.
Yep.
I look on the statement of financial position, and we've got a $34.3 million assurity that we put up, which impacts on our liabilities. Is that a performance guarantee or a financial guarantee?
That's essentially a financial guarantee that we're providing to the water service provider, and provided we outwork a number of conditions, that debt doesn't become payable. So, okay. But it is from an accounting perspective. We've had to take that up.
I see. This is one that relates back to the.
It's a guarantee we provided, and that's the value of that guarantee.
Yeah. So so it's not necessarily appointed to water consumption. It's a.
So the recognition of that liability occurred in the previous financial year.
Yep, with you now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just a bit of confusion there on my part. No, thanks for that.
Good.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Hanson.
I'm happy to move the report.
Thank you. Okay, move Councillor Hanson, seconded Councillor Cameron. No further questions. I put the motion. All in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you, Mark. Staying with you though, G3.2, Port Curtis Coral Coast, as trustee for the Port Curtis Coral Coast Aboriginal People's Charitable Trust as a sole supplier arrangement. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, following on from our outworking our Indigenous Land Use Agreement, to which we're a party to, we've got an obligation there to make sure that we're doing our appropriate land clearances when we've got the appropriate transactions happening. What we have been doing is engaging Gladstone Cultural Heritage Corporation to do those. They're no longer a supplier available to council underneath our ILUA to do that. So what we need to do in terms of outworking our obligations is engage the PCCC Trust, who are in accords with the ILUA, are that party to provide those land clearances now. So this is essentially just a report to regularise that situation. So essentially when it comes through to procurement, it's just a sole supplier.
Thank you. Question? Councillor Braithwaite.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. So just to clarify, I'm trying to build a picture in my head how this works. So PCCC have got people within their organisation or other parties like Gladstone, because obviously Gladstone will be part of the PCCC as well, is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Councillor Braithwaite, Gladstone is not a sub-body of the PCCC Trust. So the Cultural Heritage Act, together with our ILUA, prescribe that we must use the RNTBC, or the Registered Native Title Body Corporate, to provide the services. So that's why this is put forward as a sole supplier, because we have no choice but to engage with PCCC to deliver those.
So to the PCCC, Port Curtis Coral Coast community, do they obviously have people working beneath them? I thought they would be just doing a management
No, the entity that we're proposing here for the sole supplier is their actual registered native title body corporate. It's not talking about the Port Curtis Coral Coast people.
So they
as a
sub it
group.
out though?
It's an entity.
Do they just sub it out though, do they?
Only
work out.
to the party here that's been proposed, because it's not just work that we're talking about.
no.
This is actually a cultural heritage clearance, which says that they're satisfied that the work that we're proposing can go ahead without giving any damage to existing cultural heritage.
I'm going to argue with it. I'm just trying to understand it. That's all. Just trying to understand, because you've got a corporation that was doing the work. And it was like a contractor, so to speak. And now obviously the Act says that we have to deal with this overarching body that looks after the whole region. But within that body, they obviously have people to do this work.
Employed by the organisation.
Employed by the organisation.
Often we do see that they do have contractors, so we may have an archaeologist come in to help with the surveys and different things like that, but that's entirely at their election.
Right.
So
cool.
if they nominated a party to do that, we would engage with that party.
Okay.
And Gadajul was originally doing the work because at the time the consent determination was handed down and the ILUA was entered into, Gadajul were the nominated body for us to engage with for cultural heritage.
Cool. I'm a lot clearer. Thanks for that. Thanks for being patient with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Branthwaite. Further questions? No, can I have a move? Are you moving, Councillor Goodluck? Move, Councillor Goodluck, seconded Councillor O'Grady. Put the motion. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, G3.3, is general sole supplier, specialised suppliers, additional. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is seeking the addition of 2 additional suppliers to our sole and specialised supplier listing, and again to make sure we're regularising that situation from a procurement perspective. The proposal there is for farm and garden products who provide servicing and supply of a number of essentially tractors, bobcats, the earth-moving type equipment of that nature to which we have in our fleet, and make sure that we can support those equipment as the registered provider of those, and also Seven Network, who obviously are the only provider of advertising within that network. My understanding with respect to that one is that it's with respect to provision of services for Eastern Gladstone, and there will be likely to see some additional reports come through for advertising on other networks to ensure that we're just outworking that.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the farm and garden products as a sole supplier, but I don't believe that the Seven Network is the only, and it might sound ridiculous to anyone listening online, is the only supplier of advertising on the Seven Network. I personally have bought advertising on the Seven Network, not through the Seven Network. And quite often you can get a better deal if you go through an agency than through the Seven Network directly. So operationally, I'm happy for the team to decide whether they want to use a Seven Network or an agency, but I'm not happy to suggest that they're a sole supplier, which then excludes us from using an agency which might give us a better deal. So maybe Kylie might like to add. Thanks.
I can explain this a little bit further. The Eastern Gladstone campaign will use different network channels. So Channel 7 is one of the 3 network channels that we'll be using. Because the spend is over $5,000, we're requesting a sole supplier for each of those channels. In the coming meetings, you'll also see a sole supplier for Win Television and also for Southern Cross Media. So this is just a process, because of the level of spending is $5,000, we're seeking sole supplier. We do get a better cost to negotiate these deals directly rather than going through an agency.
Councillor Goodluck.
So how do you have a sole supplier for a product with 3 different suppliers?
Because there is only one Channel 7. So we're entering into an
So it's
agreement
not the
with
sole
Channel 7 to do marketing on Channel 7. And then similarly with Southern Cross Media, which is Channel 10, and also Win Television, which is Channel 9 or Channel 8.
Councillor Goodluck, I do believe the argument is around that they're like the OEM. So it's like we could buy parts from different suppliers, but to get direct from the to cut out the intermediary.
As a person who used to own a newspaper, using an agency was basically like having staff working for you 24/7 that you didn't have to pay until they sold your advertisements, and that's why you gave them a better deal, and that's why they can get you a better deal. So I'm the biggest supporter of Brisbane and Gladstone, Brisbane to Gladstone yacht race, everyone knows that. And I want to see the ads on all these channels. And I'm quite happy for today for this to go through, but I don't think that that's the way forward for the future, because you can quite often negotiate a better deal with an agency. And I know that at least 2 agencies in Gladstone would be probably listening online going, we can offer you a better deal, or they might be able to offer a better deal. I don't know what's been negotiated, and as I said, I'm happy for our team at an operational level to decide whether they go directly to a television station or a radio station or a newspaper, if there's any left, or directly to an agency. But I don't buy for a second that you get a better deal, or you're guaranteed to get a better deal, because I know for a fact that's not the case. Not always the case, anyway. So it's $15,000. I'm quite happy to go with the recommendation today, but I don't... Lisa, does that then bind us to only ever dealing directly through the agencies?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, directly through the... Sorry? Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Who can answer that for me?
Yeah. So what this does is give you the option to essentially go to engage Seven Network, but it doesn't say that's the only option you can do to engage Seven Network. If you want to do it through an agency, you still can. You can still get you seek your value for money. So in accordance with our procurement practices, we've still got an obligation to ensure we're getting the best value for money. What this does is essentially give us the ability to go and engage Seven Network directly without going through a competitive process. So we can, because essentially we've judged that. So if we think we can get a better deal, we can absolutely are obliged to ensure that we do chase that up.
Okay. Councillor, good luck.
Sorry, so I just need to quantify this in my head with a sole supplier arrangement. So can you explain to me how this is different? If we want to buy a ute, we can't enter a sole supplier with, Toyota, because they're the only ones that sell Toyota Hiluxes, but we've still got many other brands that sell utes. So how is that different from the TV network? There's multiple suppliers. How are we able to end up with a sole supplier? I understand there's only one Network 7, but there's only one Toyota Hilux. How is it different? Can you explain it to me, or?
Probably not, yeah. To me, this is, yeah. I appreciate the argument and take your point. But the channels, yeah, these are other ones that, from a network perspective, provide that marketing channel. The argument is that each of these provide different, essentially, marketing outcomes as a result of that. So Channel 7 has a particular demographic as compared to, Channel 10, Channel 9. So that's the argument that's being provided. I note your concern, and I can't argue against that, and I'll provide you a reasoning for that. But to me, this is just around providing that avenue for procurement of this airtime with Channel 7. You can equally hold this over if you don't wish to resolve that way.
I'm not against the recommendation. I'm just trying to understand the sole supplier arrangement when there's...
But if there's functionality that you're after in a Toyota or functionality you're after in a Ford that is only provided by that network or that particular ute, then that's something that you would argue in that case. And this is what the team have been looking at. In this
my
case,
understanding with the sole supplier is, that is the sole supplier that can provide that service. But what I'm hearing is that's not the arrangement. Is that the case, or do we?
So it's a sole supplier to enter into with Seven Network for advertising on that channel, on that channel, who gives you access to their audience.
Okay. Lisa, then Councillor O'Grady.
I just wanted to ask a question. So an alternative, if there was an alternative way to procure it, there could be a quote, invitation to quote for the 3 networks to advertise Easter and Gladstone, and they would come back with these are the demographics we've got, and you could then allocate across. That would be an alternative procurement process to achieve a similar outcome? Is that, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So that could be a way to go.
You'd still want to have the flexibility to be able to choose which channel you would like to advertise on. As Mark was saying, they're very different demographics and they've got different streams to advertise through. So we are using the 3 streams. So we are using 3 different channels. So there will be additional sole supplier requests coming to council for the other 2 networks that we're choosing to use.
Hello, Grady.
Sorry, thank you, Mr Mayor. My question was, so have we gone to an agency and got a quote?
We have, Councillor O'Grady. We've actually done it through an agency in the past. This is just a more cost-effective way going direct to the channel. Yeah.
And I won't argue that if you can get a better deal, that's good. It's all a negotiation. But I can also tell you that the opposite can be the case. And I've witnessed it, seen it, been party to it. Yeah. So if this recommendation is adopted, the team can still go directly to 7, 9, 10. It's still called 9? 9, yeah. But also go through, I'm going to name them, Elevate, Cooper, someone else that lives in the Gladstone region that may get them a better deal. If they wanted to, they can still do that, even though this is a sole supply arrangement. It doesn't exclude them from doing that.
No, that those for engaging and advertising through Channel 7, obviously I don't think Channel 9 or 10 will go through that. Will be options, but obviously Elevate or Cooper will be available as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Councillor Goodluck.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just one last attempt so I can clarify this. Sorry, Councillor Hanson. It does, I just want to clarify this for myself. It says, in accordance with section 235A of the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council is satisfied that the below suppliers are the only suppliers reasonably available to deliver the relevant product service for the 22-23 financial year. It doesn't say, it doesn't mention best value. It says that they're the only suppliers available. So does that, what we're trying to do here with the 7 network in accordance with that regulation, because they're not the only suppliers when there's agencies available? I'm just from a governance perspective, so can you just give me that context? Sorry.
Yeah, if we were using an agency, it'll be a different story, but because we're wanting to spend over $5,000 with one supplier, Channel 7 is the only company that can that we can use advertising for on Channel 7. Does that make sense?
So we can't use agencies for this particular advertising that we're wanting to do. Is that right? Because that makes sense if we're trying to enter a sole supply arrangement.
Yeah, we could use an agency, but we've negotiated a better deal directly with Channel 7 than we could with an agency in this case. So we're engaging Channel 7 directly to advertise on Channel 7.
So that's where I'm asking for the context in relation to the regulation. The regulation states that you can enter a sole supplier, to my understanding, and I'm happy to be corrected, you can enter a sole supplier if they are the sole supplier, not if they give you the best deal. That's still, do you know, am I making sense? Or?
No, I know what you're saying, but there is only one Channel 7. So that it is a sole supplier. There is only one Channel 7 that can offer that demographic and that particular channel.
And I get that. That's where it's a bit of a grey area. But the other problem is there is other suppliers that can. From just clarification, are we using the sole supplier arrangement in the correct framework here? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's. The team will look at it from that perspective. I'd actually probably argue that, and I'd stretch it to be a specialised supplier under B, 235B, would be where I would then, because essentially that is their specialty, is providing that that is their uniqueness. They're not the only supplier. That would be from my perspective that would be potentially more advantageous and more fitting.
And from I'm all for, obviously, I commend the team for trying to get the best deal and the best value for money for ratepayers. I just don't want to enter into a space, and I'm not suggesting we are, but I'd want to make sure that we use sole supply arrangements for that purpose mentioned under the regulation, not for when we get we think we can get a better deal and potentially exclude other, businesses that might offer a similar service or be able to supply that product or service in other areas. So I just want to make sure that the sole supply arrangement is in fact when there is only a sole supplier that can provide a service or product, because we have other mechanisms that we can use to make sure that we get competitive tenders and still get value for money for ratepayers without potentially excluding other businesses. That's all. And I'm still not sure if I'm quite clear on it, but for this one, but
A couple of questions from councillors. I've got Councillor Hanson, Councillor Churchill and Councillor Cameron. Councillor Hanson first.
It seems that this, I'm finding it hard to support the 7 network one, but I'm happy to go with the recommendation at this stage. But it seems that we have to have a look at the whole sole supplier system a little bit more, go a bit more deeply into it and have a look at where we're going and whether we should, in layman's terms, bring some stuff back into council to make a decision on, rather than throwing it all out to sole suppliers. I just think we should have a review on that at some stage in the future, if everybody's agreeable.
Councillor Hanson, we can definitely look at that. Councillor Churchill, then Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Matt. Look, I agree with Councillor Hanson. I'm finding it difficult to support as well. But maybe it's the terminology, because it says, the word in that bottom right-hand corner says only supplier. Maybe that needs to be changed to one supplier or a specialised supplier of advertising, because it clearly indicates that it's the only supplier of advertising. And I know, and others have said it, you can get advertising on 7 through other suppliers. But maybe it's the word specialist supplier. I'm not sure. The General Manager used a terminology there before. Anyway, I'll go along with the masses if it's supporting, as long as it doesn't eliminate any other local businesses that could benefit, and as you indicated, Mayor Matt, that could get a better package in any type of advertising on the 7 network.
Thanks, Councillor Churchill. Councillor Cameron?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. One way out of it might be that if you limit it to a specific event, which is Easter in Gladstone and the yacht race. So if you said they're the only sole supplier that can provide adequate coverage of the event, and just limit it to that event. Is that a possibility?
I would suggest it is a specialised supplier, not sole supplier, and that for 7 network you're utilising the provisions of 235B.
I'm going to go full circle. I think I'm comfortable to support Farm and Garden, and that we just remove 7 network and leave it to the operation Kylie's team to get quotes and do the best deal. I don't think it needs to be here. I don't think we need to choose a sole supplier. I think if it's $5,000, it's operational, and if you get the quotes and you get a better deal through 7 directly, then I think that's the best way forward. And I'm going to move that way. We support point 1 of the recommendation and not point 2, and we just leave it to Kylie's team to get quotes, and if they've got the best quotes already, then that's the best process forward.
And if they've got quotes, then they've actually outworked their obligation underneath the
I think that's
policy.
the safest and best way. Is there any further questions or comments on that, councillors? Councillor Goodluck?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm happy, I think, to support your motion. The regulation is quite clear around what we can use the sole suppliers for. The 7 network one here, for me, doesn't fit the sole supplier category, and that does lead me to potentially ask the question, even with the farm and garden products, are there other, does that fit the bill for the sole supplier arrangement? So I'd just like, perhaps at a later date, some clarification as to what we're using the sole supplier
So these are
arrangement
sole
for.
suppliers to do warranty works and the like underneath those, and where we to fulfil the requirements of a particular vehicle's warranty and stuff, we're required to utilise particular parts from those essentially suppliers or whoever are essentially the franchisees of that particular equipment in that actual area. In this case, it's farm and gardens for those types of equipment. We've got similar arrangements for Hastings Dairying, for Reeve City Ford, Toyota, etc.
Yeah, okay, and that's fair enough. I'm just a little confused as to why, you know, the sole supplier is here when it's not a sole supplier. So I'm sure if we can just get some context around how we're using that sole supplier arrangement at a later date, and I think I'm happy to support the Mayor's motion. Thanks.
Before I go to Lisa and Tanya, would you like to second that? Because I don't have a second at the moment. Thank you. Second, and Councillor Goodluck. Lisa, then Tanya.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to clarify, it's only supplies reasonably available, so it's not the only. There might be another supplier in Melbourne, but reasonably available. But I don't disagree in terms of the information that we're providing in these reports to explain why we've come to this recommendation. So I think we'll take that on board to provide more information about the specific companies that we're recommending in future, so that you can have that information to support decision making. So we'll endeavour to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson.
Just one. Sorry, you.
Oh, sorry, Tanya.
The legislation prescribes what we can and can't do with local supply, one supplier, but we don't have to follow that legislation. We can do whatever we like on the other side of the legislation, as long as we don't cross the line. If you know what I mean, we can bring all of this back into council if we wanted to. Not that I want to, but we could, and we wouldn't be against the legislation. I didn't put it quite
I know what you mean.
well, but you know what I mean. And this is my last statement, unlike what Councillor Goodleck said before.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions, councillors? Sorry, Tanya, thank you.
Councillors, I just wanted to add in that with respect to the legislation, which we've pointed to a number of times, the commentary around that legislation is very clear that it is a matter for councillors to determine whether those statements apply on a case-by-case basis, because it is very specific to the council's needs. So you may not find the guidance you're looking for in the actual legislation. So just...
All good. No further comments or questions. Put the amended motion that I've moved and seconded by Councillor Goodluck. All in favour? The motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kylie. G 3.4 is the review of the learning and development policy. And Councillor Goodluck, you were going to declare a conflict.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Sorry, I was reading the report and it didn't occur to me until I stepped foot into this room, when your brain starts to absorb all the conflict of interest legislation that we have to be aware of. But I will declare a prescribed, I believe, conflict, as I am a director of the Apprentice and Trainees Queensland organisation, which is a group training organisation. So I believe, Tanya, is that a prescribed or a declarable conflict? We'll go with prescribed, Mr Mayor.
Well, Lisa's just having a double check. We make sure we get the right one.
I think I'll just declare a prescribed conflict, and I'll leave the room for this item. Thank you.
Okay, I can't argue with that. It's totally your choice. All right. Well, Lisa and Tanya are reading. Councillor Goodluck has made his call anyway, so he's out of the room, which makes it very easy for everybody. I might throw back to you, Mark, the review of the learning development policy. Thank you.
Morning again, Mayor and Councillors. This item is with respect to...
And welcome, Vicky. Sorry.
Yeah. Get there. This is a review of our learning and development policy. So we've got Vicky Hankinson with us, our governance business partner, as well as TNS, our General Manager of People, Culture and Safety, to answer any questions you may have with respect to the report. It's been a while since we reviewed our policies in this space. You'll see that what we're looking at is a review of our policies for learning and development and engagement of group training organisations. that were adopted in 2015 and 2017 respectively. We've had a review of those, and what we're looking at is essentially repealing those policies and replacing that with a new all-encompassing learning and development policy that looks at our current landscape that has changed since those policies were written. Happy for Vicky to take through any significant changes that have occurred within the policy, but commend for your approval.
I got a question, Vic. There's lots of reading in this one to find what's changed and what's proposed. Reading the new policy, though, what impact does this have on our relationship with Gladstone Group apprentices? But an organisation, Apprentices and Trainees Queensland, but an organisation that has, begun because of the good work of the council and other more councillors back in the day, many years ago. In terms, I'm talking Cole Brown and Dave Burns. So I want to make sure we're not walking away from their legacy here. What are we doing? What's the impact?
Mr Mayor, it certainly doesn't prevent us from entering into arrangements with group training organisations. I guess the key issue here is that we're a lot more proactive in our own apprentice and traineeship program, which was significantly different when this policy was first adopted in 2015.
Thank you. The outcome for this policy was to get more apprentices and trainees, and we've achieved that. I don't want it just to go backwards, though.
No, certainly not.
Okay. Councillors,
but you still want to protect the training organisations that in town here as well. So we want to make sure that's the case. And it was a good question.
Yeah.
Sorry, and certainly if we have areas in our business where we have sufficiently trained people that can support a placement that a group training organisation is looking for, then it certainly doesn't prevent us from entering into that arrangement.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Hanson, did you have a...
I just know that this has been completely rewritten in a different style and whatever. We usually have tracking changes and whatever, so I'm just wondering, probably that's the reason why you couldn't do it in this document, because it's so vastly different.
I was going to say as a first up, I apologise for not providing a track changes, but it is a total rewrite, and there didn't seem to be a lot of point in providing a lot of red deletions and a totally new policy.
Yeah, I got that too, but at the end of it kept going backwards and forwards and said just put the old ones aside, read the new one and see if you're happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councillors, any further questions? No? Are you happy to move that, Councillor? Councillor Churchill move, Councillor Hanson second.
Happy to move, yeah. Thank you.
Second, Councillor Hanson, all in favour? Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Vicky. We have Councillor Goodluck back, please. Sorry, put my microphone on. G3.5, Sister City Committee. Hand back to the General Manager of Community Development and Events, Kylie Lee. Thank you, Kylie.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor and councillors. I'd like to welcome Rebecca Creedy to the meeting today as well. Rebecca is the Secretariat of our Saiki Sister Committee, Advisory Committee, and has been doing a wonderful job with the group. We're very excited to say that the recruitment for our Sister City Advisory Committee for 2023 actually attracted 12 applicants, and 9 of those are returning members. So we've got a wonderful committee, very, very skilled. The objective of the Sister City relationship is to provide a forum for cultural, economic and education interchange. And the Declaration of Friendship was signed in 1996 with the Advisory Committee established in 1997. So it's a very long-standing advisory committee for us. I just would like to note before we talk through the President's report that these committee members are volunteers, and they volunteer their time across the year to ensure that our Sister City relationship is a successful one. The recommendation for the 2023 committee include the following people. So Wendy Marsh returning as President, Chris Moore as Vice President, Beverly Fellows, Howard Marsh, Maureen Mason, Yukoko Moore, Rabina Cupid, Gay Cirrus, Aaron Yeh, who's a former youth council, Jacqueline Thompson, Ayoko Carrick, and Carolina Bokos. The new members went through an interview process and have been engaged by the advisory committee. Some of the highlights from the President's report include the Shorebirds artwork that was developed by artist Margaret Worthington and installed on the front of our 101 Gundoon Street. And that's really to celebrate and acknowledge the 25-year anniversary of the Saiki City Friendship. Those birds, the shorebirds, actually transit between Gladstone and Saiki, so they are a very special reminder of our friendship. One of the challenges that the committee had was the absence of the student exchange for Saiki City, and the mayoral exchange. So, or not exchange, visit. Sorry, we're not exchanging our mayor today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's fine. That's correct. That's correct. The COVID restrictions have unfortunately been in place for that. So we've also had the book exchange this year, and also we've really aligned our bonsai volunteers and space with the Saiki Sister Committee. So that's been a relationship that we've enhanced across the year as well. We've also facilitated many artwork exhibitions through the Gladstone Art Gallery and Museum as well. The committee also participated in Flourish, which was a beautiful opportunity to interact with our multicultural community. So the advisory committee continued to be quite a successful committee. They have been operating within their budget of $15,000 annually. And I'll invite Rebecca to see if Beck had anything further to add before I welcome any questions.
Thanks, Kylie. No, I think that covers everything. I know that the committee has been very excited to see the numbers grow, and Wendy has kindly put her hand up to be president again this year, which I think she just offers such wonderful guidance to the committee, which will be a real benefit to the new members. I do know that she is looking to step aside in the following years, so hopefully somebody from that committee will be ready to take her place. I know it's some big shoes to fill there.
Thanks, Beck. Thanks, Rebecca. And I'll welcome any questions from councillors.
Just the councillors Churchill and O'Grady are on this committee too? They don't need appointment to the committee as today as well, or they do? Sorry?
Sorry, please accept my apology on that. Councillor O'Grady and Councillor Churchill are still council's representatives on the committee. And they do a wonderful job too. So
they don't need to be included in this recommendation?
No.
Thanks. Councillor O'Grady, do you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just, it's been a fantastic year actually. It's been really good, and this is probably the busiest I think the Saiki City has been for the last 12 months. And I'm looking into the future, but Rebecca has been our secretariat, and she's just done an absolutely brilliant job. So I'd just like to thank you, Rebecca, for everything that you've done for the committee, because without you, we wouldn't have been able to cope. But we're really hoping this year might be the year that the mayor maybe be able to come over to Gladstone. So that's something that we're really pushing towards. So we'd love to see that happen.
That would be excellent, yeah. It's their turn to come back and visit, even though we missed a few years. I think it's their visit to us before we should go back to Japan. Councillor Churchill, did you want to add anything to that?
No, all good. Thanks, Mayor Matt. It's just great to see a broad variety and young people getting involved. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. No further questions or comments? I'll get a mover for the recommendation, please. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Second, Councillor Trevor. Put the motion. All in favour. Motion's carried. Thank you, Kylie. Excellent. There's no deputations and councillor reports. Is there any councillor reports? No verbal councillor reports either? No urgent business, no notices of motion, no confidential items. Declare the meeting closed at 9:50 a.m. Thank you.
you.